Hey everyone, Joe Concepcion, the Heartland Defender here, fresh off another big win on an injunction case. Now, you may be wondering, like a lot of people, what's the big deal with the injunction? I can't stand them, they can't stand me. Let's stay away from each other. Well, it's not that simple. There's implications to an injunction. And if you just agree to an injunction, as so often happens, I regularly see family attorneys come in and try to negotiate the injunction issue. And as a criminal attorney, I'm like, fuck it, I'm not going to agree to anything. I'm here for trial. But it is common for people to think about, well, what if I just agree to the injunction? Don't ever do that. So while we're talking about that, what is an injunction? An injunction is what we typically call, in common terms or media or whatever, a restraining order. It means that the person that got the injunction can keep the other person 500 feet away from them, their residence, their work, etc. Here in Florida, we've got 5 different types of injunctions. We've got the injunction against domestic violence, which is one of the ones we see most commonly. We've got injunctions against dating violence, against repeat violence, against stalking, and against sexual violence. And all of these have elements that overlap. They're kind of similar, but they also have things that are different. And the standard may be slightly different in another case where you have to prove not much for a domestic violence injunction. It might be a little harder on proving a repeat violence injunction. So let's go through that. To get a domestic violence injunction, there has to be some sort of domestic relationship. In other words, that you're living together, or you have a child in common, or you guys live as a household, or your family, or something that makes it domestic. And then what is violence? Violence is whatever is defined by the statute. There's different crimes that are violence. It's not just battery or assault. It can be stalking. It can be aggravated battery, aggravated assault, all the laundry list of violent offenses that occur within that type of setting makes it domestic violence. That person that's seeking the injunction has to show that either A, they are a victim of domestic violence, or that they have a reasonable cause to believe that they are going to imminently be a victim of domestic violence. So those 2 elements: 1, domestic violence; 2, imminent fear. And that can be an and or. It can be victim and imminent fear, or just fear going to be a victim. The second one is dating violence. There has to be a dating relationship or some sort of intimate or affectionate relationship in the past 6 months. There has to be an act of violence, as we talked about before, in the past 6 months. That can encompass a whole laundry list of things. And that person has to show that they have a reasonable cause to believe that they are going to be an imminent victim of more violence. If they go in and they just show one incident but can't show imminent fear, or that incident is so minor that there's no way a reasonable person would have fear of further violence, then that one's out of the water. It's not going to be proven. The petition is going to be dismissed. The third is petition against repeat violence. 2 acts of violence or stalking, at least one of which happened in the last 6 months, and the petitioner must genuinely fear repeat violence. This is another one that is often hard for the petitioner to prove, because there has to be a reasonable fear of repeat violence. If they haven't had any contact since the thing happened, or there's no way their paths are going to cross, there's no way they're going to show that second element of genuine fear of repeat violence. The third one is stalking. For stalking, you have to be a victim of stalking. And stalking has to be 2+ incidents. Stalking is defined as willfully or maliciously repeatedly following, harassing, or cyberstalking. Cyberstalking has its own definition, but it encompasses all the things that we think would happen either online or by phone or whatnot. And as I said, there need to be at least 2 incidents. Some courts have questioned this. Why does stalking need to be repeat incidents? But that is the case law. There has to be at least 2 incidents. And a parent of a child who's being stalked may file if a parent lives at home. So it's not just the child that would have that relief available. And then the last one would be a petition against sexual violence. There has to be 1 act of sexual violence. It had to have been reported, or the offender's term of imprisonment is about to expire in 90 days. Now, that one's interesting that it's an or, because it had to have been reported if they were in prison. So that one seems repetitive. A parent can bring a petition for injunction against sexual violence, but to testify, they have to meet certain requirements. They have to have been an eyewitness to the violence, or they have to have had direct physical evidence or affidavits from people who were or who have significant facts relating to the alleged violence. And then if a petition is brought against a non-parent, then the parent with whom the child lives must have reasonable cause to believe that there's going to be imminent violence. So there you have it, 5 different ways in which someone can come in, swear to a piece of paper, and make your life difficult. And again, even if you don't like the person, you never want to see them again, don't agree to an injunction. Don't ever do that. And don't ever let a family attorney come up to, or a petitioner's attorney come up to you and try to convince you that negotiating an injunction is the best tactic. No, never roll over on these. Fight all the way and make sure you lawyer up.